Welcome to the Pastel Podcast, where we chat with pastel artists and take a dive into the vibrant world of pastel painting. Whether you're an experienced artist or just beginning, this podcast brings you inspiring stories and engaging discussions on the joy of painting with pastels. Thanks for tuning in and get ready to add more color into your world. Hey everyone, welcome to the Pastel Podcast. Kari Stober here with Lisa Skelly, Lisa, you just said that you are going to be hosting an event tonight.
That is correct. Yep.
Is it a holiday event or is it an art event?
It's a holiday event. We had the gallery show last weekend, our holiday treasures show at the gallery, which is just pretty close to my house, but that was a whirlwind last Friday. So this Friday we have a whole nother event. It's a Christmas party and there's a lot to do. Trying to make it a whole experience for everybody. And
we're going to throw in recording a podcast to your day.
That's right. That's right. The flowers are being delivered right now as we speak. So
nice. That's awesome. I don't think I've ever had any sort of holiday event that grand. I know my mom did growing up. She was an artist. She wouldn't say she was an artist because her crafts were like wood. Like she would just make all these amazing things like angels and stuff like that. But she'd always have holiday open houses and it'd always be so bright and Christmassy. And it was so much fun.
It is fun. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. Like once you're done, now I can just go relax. And I got a lot more decorating to do once we're done talking to Allan today. But yes, it's a fun time of the year and it's going by fast. I think there's so much going on.
It really is. I can't believe it's almost the end of the year. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, and everybody's got parties going on and events and things like that, trying to fit it all in.
And I don't know how everybody does it.
I don't either.
Just be low key and not do anything. So speaking of Allan, so our guest today, I am super excited for. When anybody ever asks me, who's your favorite historical artist? I do not have an answer. I have never been into art history. I had to take it in college, but I never really studied the old masters, all of that kind of thing. And everyone's like, you need to copy the old masters and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. In my mind, when I think of masters, because I'm drawn to bright colors, big, bold shapes and all that kind of stuff, like I go to Alain Picard. He is my favorite artist. I absolutely adore his paintings. Such a lovely person. So I am so excited to have Allan on today.
It's going to be a great episode. And Allan, I'm sure he's so vibrant and gregarious and he's just so much fun to talk to. So I'm sure he's going to share so much information with us today. And we're just going to be blown away because he's just a light. So
yeah, that is a very good word for it. He is a light. I love that. He just has so much vibrance and just brings so much energy into the space. So I guess since we're talking so much about Allan, we should just go ahead and bring him in. Hi, Allan. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Hi, Kari. Hey, Lisa.
We're just bragging about you over here before we start.
My ears were burning, and I thank you for all the kind words, and I so appreciate it. And Kari, it's been just a joy to provide any kind of inspiration that I've been able to. And thank you for appreciating. It's really wonderful as an artist. I think full circle when people out there value the work that we create and share, that's the full circle experience. And it does bring beauty and wonder and light into the world. So thanks for appreciating my paintings.
You're welcome. If you can't tell, I'm over here fangirling. I can't stop smiling because it's such a surreal experience to, I've taken your online classes and, so seeing you in that element, but now there's like a back and forth with it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wonderful. We're real people, right? And the miracle of technology, we get to have these connection points.
So my first question, and we typically ask this of every artist that we have, because I love learning and I love it doesn't matter what it is. It could be the most random, obscure thing. I just love learning. So you, Alain Picard, are a very well-known pastel artist. Have you always been an artist? Did you have, a career before that? Did you start out with another medium or has it always been pastel? What's your background?
Yes, that's a great question because I came via the circuitous route to pastel and to painting in general. Actually, the funny one about me is my boyhood dream was not to be a working artist, it was to be a left-handed pitcher in the major leagues. I wanted to play baseball. I wanted to play it, on the grand scale. The dream was there. Of course, I was a pipsqueak, and I got okay. I got pretty good at playing baseball, but never good enough to go professionally. And it was my sophomore year in college when the scales fell from my eyes. Let's just say it that way, because I realized that I wasn't able to throw hard enough to play at that level as a pitcher. I think I threw 83 miles an hour, okay? Which is great. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but it certainly was not anywhere near professional Major League Baseball level. So now what do you do? That whole boyhood dream kind of crashes. And here's what happened to me. Suddenly I realized, like, all the way through my upbringing, I was always doodling and sketching, had a lot of creativity. I was we'd wrap our textbooks back in the day with craft paper or paper bags from the grocery store. And then I would draw all over them. I would draw characters. I would draw whatever I was looking at. Didn't pay any attention to that, of course. Every art teacher I ever had was trying to focus me and help me to invest more in my artistic talent, but I just wasn't paying attention because of the funnel vision of baseball. And then that sophomore year, I was taking an elective drawing class, okay? Of course, because it was an easy A. I'm like, oh, this is great. And right around the time when my college coach says, enjoy your college experience, it's not going to happen for you, I then
I guess that's a nice way to phrase it.
Right. Well, I think I asked him, like, hey, do I have what it takes? Right. And he was very sweet and smiled at me and said, enjoy your college experience. You're going to have a really fun time. And it was his way of saying, no, you're not going to go further than this. What a gift. What a blessing that was, because I then came to my drawing elective and my teacher got upset with me. She said, what are you doing? You could teach this class right now. And it's like, you don't even care. And so it was like this kind of moment where I realized, oh, I have something unique, and maybe I should look at that now that this other thing. So I went from one idealistic dream to a very practical aspiration of becoming an artist, of course, straight to the next idealistic dream. And had no people in my life who were working artists, had nowhere that I could turn and say, oh, that's what it looks like to pursue a career in the arts. So I actually transferred to a state school where I could play Division III baseball and have fun. I was like captain of the baseball team for a while, but I also could declare an art major. And I went right into the chairman of the art department's office. His name was Abe Echeverria. He was from Spanish Harlem, and he was an illustrator. He did the Dune cover, Dune, the book.
Yeah.
Frank Herbert, which is all big in the movies now. He did that cover and some other things.
Wow.
Anyway, I walk into his office, I say, they tell me I'm good at drawing. I've declared an art major. I don't know what's the right direction. Here's my sort of portfolio of drawings and exercises. Mm-hmm. What do I do? And he directed me to choose an illustration major. And he said, wow, you can really draw. And he said it with this wonderful Spanish Harlem accent. He became my mentor and sort of opened up a world to me. He introduced me to things like the Society of Illustrators in New York City. He introduced me to, actually, I got to go to the School of Visual Arts in the summer on a scholarship and do some things with others there. He opened me up to things like the Art Students League. It was amazing. It was like a whole new world. And I have to say, Kari, that once that world of investing in my artistic ability opened up, I never looked back. As a matter of fact, even though I played a little more baseball, it kind of, I guess I'm very goal driven because it fizzled a bit for me. And I got more and more excited about art and the possibilities of being an artist. I just went on that journey of discovery. And that's where Pastel came into my life, because our Dutch figure drawing teacher in college, she was tall and Dutch and wonderful with short white hair. And she was intimidating. Everyone was just scared of her. Polonia Nixon. She would walk around the class feather in her hand. And if she didn't like your charcoal drawing, she whisked it out, said, try again. So many artists actually would drop out of her figure drawing class, but I absolutely loved her, and we had to get pastels. So I got a set of Rembrandt pastels for life figure drawing class. And that was my first experience. And I fell in love with them immediately, but it wasn't the beginning of this long sort of commitment to pastel. Actually, I tried everything: watercolor, mixed media, acrylic, oil. I was under the impression you had to become a master oil painter to be a true artist of the ages. So I did everything in my power to become a great oil painter. Mm-hmm. Yet pastel was this very, very
calling you
personal.
back.
Oh my goodness, this connection that I just always had, and it was the immediacy. I'm a kind of merging of a drawing and painting in terms of my approach. And so that the draftsman in me loved the directness, the painter in me loved the sort of soft pastel color application and how vivid and beautiful it is. So it took me a while to make it my primary medium, honestly. I mean, quite a while, but all along the way, I was working in pastel as I worked in oil. And then it was, I think somewhere around the 2015-ish range where I just went all in and said, I'm not, it's been over a decade that I've been only working in pastels. So, and it's not like I said, I'll never try oil again or anything. I made the leap and just said, I love this medium and I'm committed to it. And I want to serve people in helping them as well.
I think that's a common theme, though, with pastelists, that the ones that have made it the primary medium is like they fell in love with it right away and they had this connection with it. And just like you said, the immediacy. And it's a common theme with pastelists. Like when you fall in love with pastel, like that's your primary medium. And there's nothing else that compares to how the joy of painting with pastel. So I completely relate to that. And I do feel like I'm drawing and painting at the same time. I felt the same way because I was a graphic design major and had that experience once I found pastels, like, oh, I can draw and paint at the same time. This is amazing. And when do you think, Allan, that when did your subject of portraits and focusing on portraiture, when do you think you found that avenue?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm a people person. I've always loved people, connecting with people. And I definitely have like a service side to my marketplace temperament. So commissions made a lot of sense to me in terms of a direction. And as I was looking for how am I going to make a living or how am I going to make money from my artistic abilities, of course, I did ad agency work during college and after. I did illustrations. I did corporate illustration. I did some mural work, sketch comping. Even some local filmmakers had me do some comping. But I got to say, I always was doing a portrait for someone, somewhere. Well, it just seemed like there was always someone I was doing a portrait for. And I realized this illustration life is very quick paced. It's all due the next day. And it was getting more and more so. And I really want to paint a meaningful, beautiful painting, a work of art, and deliver it to my clients. So I think portraiture is a good direction for me. And it seems to me that that's a great way to, generate income through my ability. So pretty quickly after college, I started to shift away from trying to do more and more illustration and into commissioned portrait work and lots of kids. And I mean, I painted so many children, hundreds of children over the years, but I live in Connecticut. And so there's a good market for painting children in like the lower Fairfield County and the greater New York area. So that really became my bread and butter. That was kind of phase one for me. Phase one, we'll call it that.
Yeah. Who doesn't want a portrait of their kids?
I know.
Yeah.
Right. And I always loved capturing a likeness, like that capturing a likeness was so rewarding for a while. I mean, I think early on, you're like, creating something that breathes back at you is this incredible and magical experience. It still never gets old. It definitely evolves, but like early on, I was like, wow, I can create a beautiful painting of a person and make a family happy. That's win-win.
Yeah, definitely. So you talked about so you started out as, oil, more of the medium before moving to pastel. Do you feel like that kind of helped you with your more painterly style that you have in pastel? Do you think that if you had started with that, would it have been different?
I think it absolutely helped me, Kari. I think that the education in oil painting informed my view of painting in general. And then I love that book, Austin Kleon, Steal Like an Artist. It's just so true. We just kind of grab from people and things and inspiration sources, and we cobble together our own, way of seeing the world, way of our own artistic voice. And for me, I feel like I've just stolen 1,000 things from oil painting that are relevant and come alive in pastel as well. And that's not unique to me. I mean, I think like, Lisa said, many pastel artists go back and forth to other mediums. And this is not me saying one medium's better than another. They're all beautiful. You find your medium, right? And so for me, it was that discovery that pastel was my, sort of deep connection, and it was meant for me, so to speak. But I was my heroes, frankly, in art are oil painters. Like Joaquin Sorolla is probably my number one favorite painter, the Spanish master painter of light. And I was a big John Singer Sargent fan, of course, still am. But artists who worked boldly, real brushy, evidence of the hand and the brush, mark making, color, they really excite me. And so another artist that was a big influence on me early was Richard Schmid, and he's an oil painter. Of course, he did the odd pastel. He'd do a couple. He'd do one watercolor a year. He could do it all. Whatever he wanted to do, he could do. But his book, Alla Prima, it has informed many of my process approaches. And I think as a pastel artist, I can take those into my approaches to underpainting and to various ways of developing. And I've also been quite inspired by, the different stages of art history and how it's actually influenced our contemporary painting today. And since Kari, you've taken a course with me, that I like to geek out on that as well and take you down a little journey through art history. So, you got a little crash course from me, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. And I've heard you're not the first person who's mentioned Richard Schmid as a pastel artist. Who did we have last time? Lorenzo Chavez was talking about reading that book and how it impacted him. So I kind of feel like I have to get this book.
You have to get the book. Yeah. Now they have an expanded edition, right? They got the expanded edition. So it's a wonderful,
both of his books are amazing. You know what? A lot of our listeners love to hear your story, but they also are trying to, I imagine that they really want to hear technique and like, what are some things like your technique has evolved over the course of your pastel journey. What can you share with our listeners that, how did your technique evolve and what kind of technique secrets can you share with us that our listeners would just be ready to grab up?
Yeah. Did you always paint with this, like the way that you do your mark making? Did you always do that with pastel, or did you start out more realist and then kind of shift to this way?
Yes, great question. And it's so okay, I'll get to technique, but the story really pushes me into the technical crisis that really caused me to transform in that area. Because I was more realistic early on, and certainly I was very much rewarded for creating realistic portraits. So more blending, more. I was using pastel pencils a little more often alongside of the softs to get the details and lock them in and layer. In 2008, we had something called the housing crisis, right? It was a financial crisis. And if you were a working artist in that season, you would have probably struggled to sell your paintings or get commissions. And that was where I found myself. And so I really hit a wall. We had one small child and another, my wife was pregnant with our second, and I couldn't sell a painting and couldn't get a commission. But I was getting invited to teach art workshops and saying no, okay? So here's how my approach changed. I actually, prior to that, I was willing to do painting demonstrations. And so for a couple of years, I was, showing up at art associations and doing these kind of 1 hour, 90-minute, up to 2 hour demonstrations. And if you want to do something in front of a group of people in a short period of time, and certainly as a portrait artist in less than 2 hours, I mean, you have to radically transform how you approach painting. And that was the first crisis of technique for me, where I realized I can't draw everything and then start to tint everything and then, layer over some color on everything. And in the Richard Schmid approach, that alla prima approach, more of an outside in, where you frame it up, you kind of mass it in a generalized way. And then you go from big to small, from the general to the specific, from kind of an out of focus to a more, sharpened image. That became this discovery process that I went on. I said yes to teaching my first workshop during that season, probably around 2009, or just before that. I was horrible at first, but I discovered a new love. It was really my ego, truly, that was saying, those who can't teach. And that's a limiting belief that I held on to because I was probably a little bit intimidated. But also, I think I wanted to see myself as this successful artist who, the young artist who wants to, make a splash. And crisis has a great way of exfoliating us, helping us to shed layers, and they're the greatest gifts of life. And so that was a gift for me. And as I was able to shed that layer, I discovered the great joy and truly the mission that I have in my life of empowering other artists to break through those creative obstacles and bring their own dreams to life, right? So that they can share the beauty, the hope, the wonder with the world through their art. And it's a beautiful ripple effect. So for me, the technique side of that was, how do I can't just draw something in an hour and think people are going to like that experience. I want to get to color. How do I do that? So I developed an approach, a more painterly approach that was very direct, and it was very alla prima in terms of applying the color and value in general swatches or masses first, and then kind of breaking it down from there. It's a very exciting way to paint, and also a very suggestive way. And it kind of allows you then to decide how far do I want to go? Because you can always tighten up a loose painting. It's pretty hard to loosen up a tight painting.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Maybe that's not true for everyone, but I think for most of it.
I think so. Yeah, that's brilliantly said. Yeah, that's inspirational too, because it gives people, you bring putting the joy back, and you had to find it yourself, like find the joy of painting in a expressive way and painterly, and where it was a quicker, more immediate, and that just takes practice. So I encourage everybody to practice, and then your technique is wonderful, and it's going to keep evolving even more into,
Absolutely.
we're never done learning. Like I always say, I'll never be done, getting to another level. And so I'm sure, I took one of your classes too. So I am it was full of energy and just so much fun. You put the fun into painting.
Uh-huh.
So really appreciate that.
Oh, thanks, Lisa. It's, I hope that, here's the thing. I always like to say, in teaching others art, I get to traffic in dream fulfillment. We all traffic in different things. Mine is dream fulfillment. I can help others connect with the things that are inside of them that are very deeply felt and personal, and our identity as an artist, or our desire to become one, even if we're not at a place where we are yet able to call ourselves that, is a very personal thing. And along with it come many scratches and bruises, right? Mm-hmm. The people in our lives, usually at a young age, that said, you can't do that. That won't make any money. That's a poor life choice. You don't have any talent, all the different things. And we carry them with us, and they don't go away. So why do I bring that up? Because when we're in a room as a group of adults, even, we still have those points of resistance, those thoughts in our hearts and our minds. And so we really do need to connect to the joy and kind of be given permission to play in the sandbox of our creativity. And it can feel risky at first. And so that's why, for me, I love to create an atmosphere or a culture of play, of fun, of joy, of learning, of curiosity. And if I can't do it yet, I'm on my way, right? I can learn it.
That's awesome. I love it. I've taken a couple of I took your landscape course and some of your mini courses you were talking about. And you are so encouraging, and you're very detailed when you're explaining. Like you're explaining, some people just paint and expect you to be able to understand what's in your head without saying it. And that's really hard to do. And so you're able to take what's in your head and vocalize it so that we can follow along with what you're thinking as you're painting. And that really, I don't know, I just really feel like that helps in such a different way to just see not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it. And just really kind of helping each artist kind of understand how you should approach a painting with the thinking and not just the doing.
Yeah, it sounds like we're on a problem-solving journey with you,
right,
when you're speaking, and you're very articulate, so it's very easy to follow. I totally agree, Kari. Yeah, it's really fun to hear. It's fun to hear like the whole thought process.
Exactly.
Yeah. It helps us.
One of the things that I love, I definitely wanted to mention this one because when I first started painting, and actually still now too, I've always been very heavy-handed. And so trying to paint along the way that you paint, I filled up the tooth of the paper so quickly because I'm just like, oh, put that on there. It's got to go on heavy because I want it to have that look, but not realizing that you can give it that look without being so heavy-handed. But the challenge that you gave that really helped was the 100 stroke challenge. Can you talk about that and why you started that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not necessarily the inventor of the 100 stroke challenge. I know friends like Tony Alain have done limited stroke challenges as well. But I tell you, limitation is the birthplace of innovation. And if you want to learn how to boil down what you do to the essentials, you've got to limit yourself. And so one of the ways you can limit yourself is the amount of strokes that you create a scene with or an image with, right? Because suddenly you have a crisis, and there's nothing like a good crisis. Never waste a good crisis. It'll teach you more than any success ever will. And so 100 strokes, what can I create? So you're forced into a process where you have to make decisions about priority. What's the most important thing to do? If I only have a few things to do, what are the first things I should do? And maybe you haven't thought that way before if you've always had as many strokes as you need, right? But it's a way of training yourself to describe more efficiently. And I knew I had a feeling you were going to ask me that. So here's one of my little 100 stroke paintings, right?
Wow.
So and how do I say it if I only have a few strokes to say it, right? Mm-hmm. And you get down to something very economical. Now, here's another one actually that I did at some point, and they're just a quick little marching, very abstract, and this painting could be done as a much more realistic scene, but it's exciting to explore this, and it's taught me so much. This painting here is not 100 strokes, but it's based on that first image that I just saw. So you see how learning how to boil something down, right? If I put this other one up, let me put this up again. Are they both in? Learning how to boil something down to its essential teaches me a way of seeing and a way of approaching. I can go further and do it in a lovely way, but even sometimes I'm like, wow, you know what? This is in some ways more exciting. It's more exciting. It's less realistic. And that is a discovery of its own. So I love kind of taking artists by the hand and bringing them into an experience like the 100 stroke challenge. There's others that allows them to have a crisis that leads to a breakthrough. And I'm telling you, it is terrifying for many, but it is epiphany time. I mean, the aha moments just fly because you discover something until we're forced. It's the same with like limiting the amount of time that you have, right? If you only have 30 minutes to do something, and truly like someone's going to take the materials out of your hands and pull you away from your easel, you've got 30 minutes. You're going to do it differently, right?
Yeah. I think you're taking away you're eliminating the preciousness of that we put on our paintings, that you're like, it doesn't have to be that precious. And it does. It's really cool how that first painting, that with 100 stroke or less, it said everything you wanted it to say. And it read correctly. And then it was really vibrant and exciting and fresh. And then to see how you can develop that too. And you don't, but if you only have limited time, it's great for your practice. Like your practice. Yeah. Like getting, something every day, a little bit of something every day. I mean, how long do you think that took you, to do the 100 stroke on a little? Yeah.
I mean, notwithstanding like kind of getting the pastels out and selecting the ones, it probably took me 15, 20 minutes. Right. And, probably 15 minutes.
That's great warm up.
Adding in like, okay, I want to use these. I think the other thing I'll often do is with students, and Kari, this would have been the time we did the 100 stroke, is I'll say, okay, we have like 10 colors. Like we'll do like 3 dark, 3 middle, 3 light values, and maybe I'll give you a bonus color, right? Pick one you love. But you're going to need 3 dark values. You're going to need 3 middle. You're going to need 3 light. And then I'll give you a bonus color. And so 10 colors, what can you do? And that's a crisis of its own. I mean, we're horrified when we hear that for the first time. And yet it is the very place where, we discover this kind of essentialist experience of painting something that is simple. And those quick demonstrations I did in front of groups of artists all over the place was one of the places that taught me that process. The other, certainly you can approach plein air painting in this way as well, where you've got to get something down quick.
What do you think the time you spend outside painting from real life or plein air painting compared to studio painting from reference photos? What's the difference or the comparison?
I mean, I'm more of a studio painter, and it will change given year to year. Like this year was more of a studio year because I wasn't traveling to different places as much because I had to launch. I didn't have to. I was delighted and excited to launch my elder son into college. So it was a year of being more present here. I have years where I'm traveling more and doing a lot more location painting. Mm-hmm. So I would say, for me, I spend more time in the studio.
Yeah.
And I think that there has to be a practice that teaches you how to grab the effect. So there has been seasons of my life where I painted a lot outside, really, and also painted a lot from life, like direct observation all the time. And then I built for myself a process of when I'm working in the studio, when I'm working from reference, how I'm working, I try to make it feel exactly the same as when I'm working from, so if I had a model in the chair, so I was doing a lot of portrait work, of course, early on. If I had a model on the chair, what would my physiological experience of painting be, right? How would I stand? Where would my easel be in relationship to the model stand? How would I look at the subject and then my easel? I replicated the same experience whenever I was working from reference so that it would be the same process. So I wouldn't trip over that, right? And did life painting every single week for years and years and years and years. So you develop that approach, and I think that it's also very powerful. But even in that experience, there were different artists around the model, and I remember some were doing a very slow approach. I was always attracted to something a lot more direct and getting to something by the end of one night that was kind of done. I wanted to have an experience of that sitting or that session. That was always kind of my temperament, right? And that's true of if I were outside. I like painting something and no more than 90 minutes. I don't want to stay. I want to capture it, right? And that I'm very attracted to that kind of dynamic experience, and maybe a little, the studio paintings that I've created over the years that are bigger and take longer, I still want them to feel like there's freshness and there's mark making, there's excitement. But it seems to me that the best ones I've ever done are some of those loose ones. And in terms of how I'm evolving, it seems to me that marks, color, vibrancy, abstraction is what is, and it's the abstraction I find in representation is what really excites me.
Can you explain that a little bit further? Abstraction in the... Yeah, explain that a little bit more.
Well, I could show a couple paintings from my website too. It might be a way to like explain it too, because it can be hard sometimes. Like this is my still life page, right?
Wow.
And I'm looking for something that was done really early on. I'm wondering if we even keep. Oh, this is an oil painting, by the way, that I did at one point, and still is on my website, which means I like it. Here's a pastel of
I love that
something.
one.
So looking at this is an abstraction as much as it is poinsettias, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can see that, the shapes, colors, textures, marks are as important as the representation of it as a subject itself. And for me, that I think is really fun. This is, these were painted, many of these painted from life. And this is a little older. You can see it feels like a little more observed. This was also painted from life, a little more. And then this is Alain Picard trying to find his way with color and mark making and exploration and explosion. This is an older piece where I was learning to loosen edges. Really older. Now look at this. This is young Alain Picard painting from life, and like impressed that I could pull off a sort of lovely painting. And I'm starting to understand edges, right?
Right.
But it's a lot less vibrant and it's a lot less dynamic. It's still beautiful, and I enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it as much as some of the exciting things where I'm like kind of exploding. So let me come out of this like still life moment, because when I think of the abstraction, this piece is a good example.
Oh yeah.
This really is an abstract composition as much as it is anything else, right? And this is one of the things I love about still life, and it's very bold and it's very expressive, top view down, but orange and blue. So it's a color experience, but also just shape, the negative shape of that cast shadow in the top left, the negative space of the blue around the plate. And then, that as an abstraction is very interesting to me. Of course, there's actually a spoon, there's actually a plate, there's actually an orange, there's actually orange slices, but they're communicated in a very visceral, very bold way. Lots of mark making and highly vibrant, expressive color, right? So that would be a good example.
Did that one have an underpainting?
Yeah, I think it's probably had some kind of like orange underpainting in there. Can you see anything through? I think there's some orange here. You can see. I love underpainting.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. It's coming through in a couple spots, which is really beautiful to see. Do you choose, depending on what you're painting, choose a different underpainting for each one, or do you have a kind of a go-to underpainting? Or
I'll change it all the time, honestly, like based on the approach. So I'm thinking about abstraction again, and look at this piece. It's a house.
Yeah.
It's a road, but it's complete mayhem. Like it's not even that well drawn. I'm someone who thinks of myself as a pretty good draftsman, but this is not that well drawn. However, it's very exciting. So that's kind of for me, like, well, what do I do? Like, what do I do with the fact that I did this painting in an hour and I couldn't make it better if I tried? There's something happening here that's really powerful that I almost can't explain.
Yeah.
And it's in the moment, and refining it more actually takes away more than it adds to. And so the abstraction of this, you'll see it in the negative shapes of the shadows, the blues. This was a blue underpainting, by the way, because I wanted to create the blue violet underpainting, where that cold kind of color and then layer that light on and have it be explosive, right?
How do you do your underpainting? Is it alcohol wash or is it
Oh, yeah. So how do I do my underpainting would be a lot of different ways. That's one of the things I really love to teach in particular, that landscape course, the Painterly landscape course that I teach each fall, because sometimes I'll just wash a complement. Sometimes I'll build up a local color underpainting where I'm really more, developing the scene as it is. I could probably find one that's more local color. Let me see if there's a example. Oh, by the way, on the abstraction front, this is Naples at night. Now, if you've ever been to Naples, Florida, you would relate to like the lights wrapped around the trees and stuff. But this is as close to abstraction in a landscape that I've gotten. And it's really exciting to me. I'm like, wow, this is thrilling.
It's fun. It's really fun.
So
I
that's
love that.
another great example of abstraction. And I did wash in the golds in the lit areas and then the shadows. So I just kind of masked in some zones of color, washed with alcohol, and then built on top of that. So it just depends where I'm trying to land. This is a great example of more alla prima approach. So this piece, I did a very much local color underpainting, and you can see it, right? So you can see that this is the actual alcohol wash transition between the sky and the clouds. And you can see the alcohol wash transition here. This was done as a demonstration in front of a group of artists. And I was quite pleased with how it all felt and came together. But it was very much like that local color underpainting.
Yeah.
So there's a great many different ways to tackle the development of a painting. And I think because I did watercolor early on, I worked in mixed media as an illustrator, acrylic and all this oil. And oil in and of itself is such a vast medium of technique that coming to pastel, there's a lot of different ways that I see the development of it. Sometimes I just love sketching with charcoal on a toned board and then going right in direct and painting on top of it.
That's cool.
I love that. So I want to talk a little bit about my favorite thing to talk about, which is art materials, because who doesn't love art supplies?
Yeah.
I'm curious. So you use a lot of UArt paper. Have you tried the new paint and stick, or the peel and stick rather?
Yeah.
Paper?
Yes, you better believe it. I've got a painting on the cover of Peel and Stick. They put one of my fish paintings on the cover of a Peel and Stick package because I use the UArt dark a lot as well.
Yeah.
And it's a really fun. I mean, I've been mounting my coated and sanded papers for years. I love mounting them. I've got all kinds of different adhesives that I've tried, and it's a wonderful product. So I definitely recommend it.
Okay, so you guys, I'm not sure what peel and stick is. I haven't heard of it yet.
See this painting?
I love that painting. Yep.
Oh, I saw that painting. That's so cool.
Yeah, this is on UArt dark, and you can see the dark surface punching through. It's a lot of fun, and
that's so cool.
And what's the joy about that? Using the dark surface is just the directness of it. When you really want to revel in the mark making, the hatching, you don't want to clean it up. You don't really want to be blending it overly because it just shows off marks.
Yeah,
right.
So
you want to see all that energy.
Yeah, for sure.
So what is
the peel and stick? It comes with it's adhesive backed. You just peel off the back. You stick it on your substrate of choice. It could be gator board. It could be Sintra is a good surface. You could use, a smaller work. You could use a foam core if it's not going to warp on you.
Literally anything. Yeah, you just peel the backing off and stick the paper on, and it's ready to go.
It's made by UArt?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they've got it.
That.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Oh yeah, definitely need to try that one.
You guys taught me something new today.
Yeah, because then you can pop your painting into those painting frames and they'll just look great,
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The other thing, you have your own set of Terry Ludwig pastels. What was that experience like?
Oh yeah, I've got a landscape set and a portrait set. They're really, really pretty, and it's a joy. I mean, obviously Terry Ludwig makes beautiful pastels, and I have so many fond memories spent with Terry. He has since passed, and one of the most generous creative souls. I mean, so generous. Going back to when I was a young artist, he would get on the phone and be like, Allan, can I send you? What do you need? What do you need? I was like, well, I have a class next week. And well, can I send you some colors you guys could play with? Oh, that'd be great. I mean, there'd be 6 people in a room and Terry's sending me a box of like mixed, used pastels that I can play with my students. That's how he built his business.
Cool. Yeah.
And so I have a lot of affection there. And so Jeff and Dina, who have carried the torch now for the Ludwig brand, are doing an amazing job. And I selected a set of like the 30 most frequently used portrait colors within the skin tones, honestly. I mean, because 30 is not that many colors, right? So those are primarily skin tones. And then the landscape set has some more of my like colors. So, the things I can't live without, like that turquoise and
yes, I have multiple sticks of that turquoise. So did you go there and pick out those colors?
Well, so I have experience. Kari, because I traveled for years with workshops, I ended up in Colorado a couple different times and went and visited Terry's workshop. And so I did get to roam around and check everything out. It was really wonderful. But when I selected the sets, because I live in Connecticut, I had an entire chart, like every single color in the Ludwig collection, but like handmade, not a printed chart, a handmade chart. And I could kind of go through and make sure that, I was able to assemble a collection that I thought would work tremendously well based on my years and years of experience of like also using Terry Ludwig pastels in the studio and having tons of them. So I didn't actually pick the set in their studio, but I've been to their studio multiple times and close enough.
Yeah, it's such a cool. I got to do that after the plein convention when it was in Denver. Sarah and I went down and Jeff just handed me this box and let me pick out all the pastels that I wanted for the box. And I was so excited. It was such a cool experience to be able to go in there. Right? It is so dangerous. Yeah. Yeah, it's so much fun just to go in and see their process and just like, I like this color and I like this color and this one and this one. And just, it was so cool.
Oh, man.
It's kind of hard not to pick all of them.
I know. It really is. You definitely have to limit yourself.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up on time here pretty soon. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is, you teach these online courses, your landscape course, your portrait one. What do you have? Do you have anything else coming up soon? Any workshops or anything that you're working on?
I'm always excited to continue developing new opportunities to just help people grow. So one of the things that I'm working on now is in 2026, releasing a painterly still life course experience. I've never had that. I've got still life stuff out there. I absolutely love I think it's just such a wonderful way to experience color, mark making, composition, and just teaching the foundation. So I'm really excited about that. So probably around, somewhere in the March time frame, I'll be talking a lot about that. But you don't have to wait, because on my website, there's a Learn from Allan tab, Learn with Allan tab, and I have some mini courses, like a mark making mini course. That's a really fun way to dive right in, jump in there. If you like pets, there's a painterly pet mini course. That's really fun as well. So there's some things you can do. And of course, on YouTube, just look for my name, Alain Picard, on YouTube. There's tons of free lessons that you can experience there. But I would love to see lots of people come out in March. Whenever I have something new that I'm doing, I'll tend to have some fun events that correspond. I don't really have the full vision of it yet, but it'll be exciting in the Painterly Still Life release.
So look for it coming around.
I'm sure it's going to be great.
Just before March. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should be coming around March. Wow. And of course, I have a membership community called Cultivate, our fellow cultivators, as we like to call them, that are learning and growing with me every month. And so we're constantly doing new things every month and all kinds of exciting things because we rotate through portrait, figure, still life, floral, landscape, and different topics. So, and the only way to get into become a cultivator is graduating from one of my signature courses where you really learn the framework or the roadmap of how to create this work, like the landscape course or the portrait. So this still life will be a new opportunity to come through, learn some exciting ways to be expressive, be loose, take that painterly approach, and also potentially join the tribe of cultivators who are learning and growing every day. It's really fun.
That's very fun.
I love it. I highly encourage everyone to check out your site and take one of your classes. They're so great. I hesitated for so long to do a workshop because I couldn't pull the trigger on myself. And my husband finally did. And he gifted me Allan's course. And it was so, so wonderful. I just absolutely loved it.
Yep, I agree. So I learned a lot from watching. I did your portrait just a one course thing, but I want to dive in deeper too. I love what I can learn. I love your mark making too. It's so energetic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks. And I really wanted to bring that into portrait and figurative. I mean, it's like we can get like with our subject matter, actually, we can get a little like, what do you call it? Bogged down. I'm going to just jump in over here to a quick view of a portrait because, we can bring those marks into portraits as well. This is one of my earlier commissions, not too early, but this was what my bread and butter for years, these beautiful kids.
That's beautiful.
And they're lovely. And here you have like one of my classics. This would have been early Alain Picard. And I still love it to today. It's beautiful. You can see it's more refined. I was learning to make marks. This would be more like recent me, where you're going to see a lot of scratchiness and layering and excitement and interest. And I just love the mark making and the color relationships and the expressive and the character. And looking through, there's probably, this one represents probably a portrait I did. This was from the live model, and it was,
wow,
like one night session, but interpreting a subject with color and with marks and with expression, you sharpen in on some things, you let other things go. And that's attractive to me. That's really exciting to me. So I just love that journey.
You have an animal portrait you did. It's a black dog on a turquoise background. Do you have that on your site?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I wanted to, the way that you, like, because you think like, for me, like I think of black dog, I have to use black pastels. And the way that you approach your painting.
A long time ago, so that's not it.
Yeah, the way that you approach your painting with color is really fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I don't think the animal is on there right now, and I've got to update that, but it's definitely on my Instagram in there somewhere. But I think black animals are such a joy to paint because you can bring blues, silky blues, those violets. You can bring purples, deep purples into the coat and create a wonderful shimmer.
Yeah.
I love the way that you can and silky black hair is like that too. Like when either a man or a woman has black hair, you can find a lot of color in it. It's kind of like white, right? Like white, it just is this repository for color. You can interpret it in so much colors. Black, which you would think is a void, actually you can infuse a lot of color in black as well. And when it takes a reflection, it takes it really pretty in the blues and violets.
Yeah.
So interesting. Allan, this has been awesome. Is there anything else that you want to share with everyone today before you go?
Well, that's a good question. It's just thank you, Kari and Lisa, for having me on as a guest. It's a real joy of mine to just share the passion for art and certainly pastel painting, this beautiful medium. I think pastel is up there with the great mediums. A lot of people thought, well, I can't use pastel and be considered a true painter. And I think that perception has truly changed. Even in galleries, I'm seeing far more openness to selling pastels alongside of the oils. And so I just want to, my mission is just to empower artists to overcome the creative obstacles that they experience, whether that's in here, or it's the very real techniques and materials side of just getting moving so that they can create the kind of work that they've always dreamed of and be the artist that they knew they could be somewhere inside of them. And so that's my true desire. And the reason I'm so convicted about it is when people create, truly, they share beauty. There's an encounter with hope that happens in the environment where that beauty is experienced. And there's a sense of renewal and excitement that takes place. And so that's my little secret mission. I just love, it's my little not so secret mission. I just love seeing artists activated and released into making the world a more beautiful place. So that would be my message to everybody today. Just keep showing up at the easel, because when you do, the world is a better place for it. And I think we all know that we as creative people are more fully ourselves when we've been creating. And that's a beautiful thing as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I love that.
That's a beautiful message. Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What a great message for the season too. It just happens to be. So do something for yourselves, everybody.
That's it.
Go paint.
It's for a creative person, creating is a form of self-care, right? It's like one way we could say it. It's like, we'll do everything else. Sometimes we need to say no to those friends, say no to that holiday party, say no to that extra thing so that we can say yes to the creative time.
Say no to your chores so that you can paint.
Oh, that's right. We're giving you permission to leave the dishes in the sink and run to the easel.
Ooh,
and I'm sure that your children or husband or whomever guests would agree with us, right?
Yeah.
They don't mind either.
Nope, they don't. My husband asked if how I felt about football season this year. He's like, how do you feel about it? I'm like, I'm actually okay with it this year because now I get to go paint and I don't feel bad about ignoring you.
Back out of the room, right? While he's watching football. Okay.
See you later.
You got your time. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Allan, so much for joining us today. And that's our show, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Pastel Podcast, which is brought to you by Pastel Today, the newsletter for all things pastel. Be sure to check us out at thepastelpodcast.com, where you can find more episodes and our show notes for these episodes, where we will include Allan's website and his Instagram, so you can check that out and go learn from Allan. So until next time, stay vibrant.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. It's been wonderful. Take care.
Thanks, Allan.